Welcome to the President's Sharing Call. It's the first one that we're having for 2023. I know that a lot of our chapters, their board transitions over in January. So welcome if you are new into the President's position. Again, I know a lot of you have attended these calls over the past few months. So that shouldn't be of a surprise, but for those of you who are joining us maybe for the first time today, these calls we have monthly, and it gives you the chance to talk to your peers across the country, whether you're struggling with something or even you just want to celebrate something great that's happened within the chapter. But it also gives you a chance to provide feedback to those challenges that chapters might be going through, knowing that you're in the same position. I would also like to remind you that we do have the exchange group as well. It's run through the same exchange system that we use for the CAI membership, but we have a group just for the presidents and president-elects. So I'm sure, again, with your roles, you've seen some communications through that, but please feel free that if between these sharing sessions, if you would like to send something out, please feel free to use that exchange system as well. We also do record these meetings with the purpose that if for some reason you're unable to attend, but you do have a question, we still put the question out to the group and get the feedback so that you can then go back and watch to see what that feedback is to your question. So again, if you're ever able to not attend, but you would like something brought up on the call, please feel free to send that in to us as well, and we'll make sure that we do discuss it on the call. So with that, I would just, because it's the first one of the year, just like to go around the group, and if you could introduce yourself and what chapter you're with, and if there's anything else you'd like to share with the group, feel free to share that, but we'll keep it pretty simple here today. And I'll just kind of go through the boxes. So the first one on my list is Sean. So Sean, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. Sean Zawadzki, president for Minnesota chapter.
All right, Andrea.
Hi, everyone. Andrea Goodmanson, Washington State chapter. I guess that's all we're doing.
Yeah. Jim.
First, Andrea, what's with all the balloons?
My birthday was 2 days ago, so I got bombed in my office. So
happy
it's actually
belated
all
birthday.
the way around me. You just can't see 360.
Good. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jim Ambrosio. I'm in Columbus, Ohio. I'm the president-elect for the Central Ohio chapter of CAI here. So we have our annual meeting coming up here in a couple of weeks, and in which that transition will take place.
Rich.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rich Salvatore. I'm with the Nevada chapter and just started presidency for this year.
Great. Rebecca.
Hi, everyone. I'm out of Maryland and with the Chesapeake chapter. And yeah, I was voted in a week ago Wednesday.
Joe Veach. I'm Dallas-Fort Worth. Just voted in president yesterday.
Good morning, everyone. Aloha. I am the chapter president out here in Hawaii.
Very nice.
I think we're all jealous right now.
Yes.
Why can't we do this in person, Kelly? There.
Yeah, right.
I'm sure it would be great.
I wish. I'm in. Haley.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Yes, I am Haley Bryant with the North Gulf Coast chapter here in the Panhandle of Florida, and I am president this year. So very excited to join this group and learn some great stuff.
Thanks. Jenny.
Hey everyone, I'm Jenny Peoples. I'm the president as of this year as well for Southwest Virginia's chapter. I'm also on our LAC and we have our General Assembly started yesterday. So we have a lot of homework to do in the next day.
All right, and Leslie.
Hey everybody, I am president of the Northeast Florida chapter and was sworn in just about an hour ago.
Well, welcome. Glad you're able to join us, and we see you're on the road, so don't worry. mute and off camera is just fine, but thanks for being able to join us today, Leslie. So at this point, we're going to open it up to you. Is there anything on your minds that you want to discuss? Challenges, struggles, things you're worried about for the coming year? Feel free to come off mute and just throw something out.
I'm really trying to get our chapter back into in-person seminars and gatherings because it's extremely beneficial to our business partners, but we're still not there yet. We recently had to pivot and go from an in-person that we had planned this month to a virtual just based on the current number of registrants. So I was just curious what are other chapters doing to kind of get people to move forward and get back in person. Same venue, we're going to offer to feed them. It's the same time of day it was prior to the pandemic. So we're kind of running out of options here, but I really want to move us back into in-person. I feel like we're so behind compared to the rest of you.
What type of event was it? Was it for managers or homeowners? Who was your main target for registration?
Actually, it was for a compilation of bodies, board members, property managers, building managers, homeowners. And we have a nationally known Crime Stoppers Honolulu Police Department sergeant as one of our panel speakers, a very prestigious parliamentarian also on our panel, and another prestigious attorney on our panel with great topics, and a luxury high-rise building manager. And they were all going to talk about cyberbullying. They were going to talk about what they do to be transparent. The attorneys on HPD were going to talk about harassment and current cases. The title of our program is Peace in the Promised Land, and how to bring that to your boards and to your communities. And so we kind of wanted to have all these different facets. And we were hoping that everyone would want to meet with these people, especially with our Crime Stoppers person. He's on the news all the time. He's a face out in the community statewide, not just on Oahu.
It sounds like an amazing program. I guess my question would be, what is your registration like? Is it where they get an email and they click on a link, and how many days out do they have to register?
Well, we sent our flyers out back in December, and then they sign up on a link. They all get an email blast. With our virtual program, we get up to 500 attendees. Yeah. So it's not like our virtual programs have a low attendance rate. We get extremely high attendance rate on our virtual programs, but our in-person, we're just trying to get there, and we don't want to take the chance of holding it anyway and not being able to break even.
One thing that we...
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to suggest one thing that our chapter did, because we were having kind of a similar problem where we couldn't really get a read on why attendance was low. We sent out our executive director sent out a Google form in which we polled the members of the chapter for feedback, because we wanted to try to find out, if they weren't attending the in-person events, if it was more because of COVID fears, or if it was just more because of general busyness, don't have time in my schedule. Yeah, ours are usually lunches, so they're 11:30 to 1:30 in the middle of the day.
Same here.
And so, yep, and so that was really good. Now we did it at the time where we were still sort of coming out of the thick of the pandemic, and so there were still a pretty fair amount of responses that were, just saying, hey, I'm uncomfortable being in a big room, and all of that, because Ohio at that time had done away with the mask requirement. And so it was kind of the Wild West. And there were a lot of people just saying, no, I'm not comfortable with it. We've started to see attendance sort of tick back up, but I would venture a guess that there's a lot of people that just feel like, hey, I've been to enough of these, I just, something's got to go, in my schedule. And they're sort of choosing not to attend when it's a face-to-face. We had the same thing. Virtual things seem to have a much greater participation because people can just do it from wherever. But you don't get, oftentimes what you're looking to get out of those either with the networking and things like that. So long answer to a short question. I would recommend maybe polling your chapter and seeing, if people are not coming and for what reasons, and then maybe, making adjustments from there.
That's a great recommendation. Thank you.
We actually did the same thing here in Northeast Florida in our chapter as we were kind of coming out of the pandemic and people started to feel a little bit more comfortable. We did survey our membership, but we also offered a couple of hybrid programs. So people could attend virtually if they wanted to, but they could also attend in person if they were more comfortable. So that might be a suggestion.
We've seen a decline in in-person attendance for just strictly educational events. So those hour lunch and learns or hour and a half. In my opinion, that model is dead because people aren't going to drive from their office because the drive time could be 30 minutes each direction, depending on where their office is or where their home is, since most people are working from home. So what we did is we've combined, I think we did this a couple of years ago. So we've been doing it for a couple of years. We used to do, let's say, a law seminar. Well, we added a mini trade show to the law seminar. So it seems like you have a pretty big event planned. If you could combine it with something else that would draw people that will make people want to be there in person as well, you're going to get a lot more people who are willing to attend, in my opinion. So that's what we've been doing, is looking to combine a better experience in person if we want them to be there in person.
I like what you mentioned about mini trade show.
It's not a big trade show. It's just, it has some booths set up, but it allows people more value for being there in person rather than just sitting in a class and then leaving.
Darn, we'll have to implement that soon. We have our big trade show in March. This would have been an ideal time to do a mini, but that's okay.
Yeah, so we have our trade show in February, but then we do the law seminar and mini trade show in the fall. So we do one in the early spring and then we do one in the fall.
Oh, these are really great recommendations. Thank you all. I'm noting it down.
I'm sorry.
No, yeah, really quickly. We had our CED retreat where the executive directors of the chapters come together this past fall. And this was actually a conversation that they talked about as well. And one of the pieces kind of along the lines that Sean was talking about is making the education sessions a little bit longer to help keep the cost. I mean, you're already at a venue and you've got the cost. So doing a 3-hour program so they can get 3 hours of education, more of it. Yes, it takes a little bit more time, but for those people who have to travel a little bit, it makes it a little bit more worth it. And then doing less programs. So I know some chapters, we've got a couple chapters that are doing, 30 programs a year. But so that gives them the chance to knock that down, but still offer the same number of hours of education to their members, but also requiring them to be, out less time because they're not traveling, those 30, 45 minutes every single time they're going to an education event for an hour. So something else to think about too.
Believe it or not, even on a little island like Oahu, travel time could very well be 30 to 45 minutes each way.
Yeah.
I'm like, why?
Well, that's because of your speed limits there.
Yes, it's
one thing that
more turtles.
One thing that we did here in Dallas and we're trying this year is we're alternating our luncheons to a breakfast in between each, like basically January and March and, June are going to be our luncheons. And then February and April, we're going to have breakfast. So we're going to do a breakfast at 8 o'clock, to see if it draws in the same group that we're having. We're still having a good group for our luncheons, but we're just going to alternate and see if that doesn't, bring people in or not.
Thank you.
I think one of the things that's made us successful, I usually don't speak because I feel like we haven't really seen too much of a decline for our things, which I'm very, very thankful for. But for us, I mean, I don't know, kind of a combination of what Sean and I think it's Jim, because I just see the J. So at we do breakfast seminars. We've had a lot of conversations about the fact that we think that it's better to do that because then people just come straight there. They don't go to work, get themselves stuck, and then not end up making it to whatever the lunch is. So we've been very successful with having the breakfast, and we left that alone. We also have about 8 to 10 vendors that are in the room that are constants, that are always there. So there's a little bit of the networking aspect to it always. And then with COVID, we realized that we were, like you said, you had like 300 attendees during registration. So we wanted to leave that as an option, and we're really careful and very strategic when we're looking at the programming that we're putting. So we have 5 breakfast seminars a year. They're 2 hours, 2 CEs each time. And we actually do 3 of them that are in person as that breakfast, and then 2 of them that are virtual. And we really focus in on what the topic is that we're putting out there for virtual. Like when it's like we do roundtables, we find roundtables are a lot better virtually because you're able to change the rooms. If you do it, oh my goodness gracious, I remember back in the day when we did roundtables in person, and it was like it was an adult musical chairs, and it was dangerous and not fun. So we found that that was like better that way. So we really looked at our programming and the topics to determine like, would this be better in person? And like we moved one of ours to December instead of November this year, and we're making it fun because we want to do like an ugly sweater, and we want to make sure that it's still going to draw people into it and not have like dry topics. So we've just really focused on that. Your topic sounds amazing, by the way. I would totally come.
Thank you. All of our in our programs committee, we meet in July, and we formulate the list for the following year, and all of our topics are outstanding. It's just trying to change the mindset and getting people comfortable, because if you come to Hawaii, you'll see a lot of people are still in masks while they're driving in their own car alone, and it's just a different mindset. It's just trying to get everyone comfortable.
Yeah, I would add the only other thing we've kind of decided in terms of our strategic planning for this year is to just experiment and just hold the in-person anyway, and start making the transition. And something huge like that, I can understand where there's a large expense and you have to make a decision for the cost for the facility and everything else at a certain time. But just going for it, knowing that maybe there's going to be a little bit of a hit, but if we don't start going back in person,
right,
then we won't, right?
We never will.
Exactly. And sometimes those experiments don't work, but you've tried, right? And then maybe you try differently another way. So we're trying to be mindful of our financial budget as well as being adventurous in terms of what we're trying. So
what are some of the venues that you guys are holding your in-person events at?
We're usually doing it at a hotel, especially for like a luncheon or something like that. But we also have mixers at wineries and breweries and stuff like that for the evenings. Those are just mixers, but that's us. But we've seen it at like Topgolf or other things like that. But those are more social versus educational. I don't know whether everybody else does.
Yeah, same thing. We have like a conference center that's part of Ohio State University. And so it's similar to like a hotel conference center. So we have our luncheons there. And then we do a Topgolf event as well every April that's really well attended. And then a trade fair that got canceled for 2 or 3 years in a row due to COVID, but that's usually at a larger hotel in the area here with the huge conference room that we can do that. At the trade fair, the last few times that we've done it, we've actually brought in a stand-up comedian to perform for everybody, like while they're eating at that. And so that's gone great. So just something a little bit different. And the guy tailors the bit to like, the association management industry. So a lot of it is about, just boards, and it's like stuff that, at least the property management company people in attendance find pretty funny. So.
Well, and I don't know if this would help, Kanani, depending on, here in the North Gulf Coast chapter, we are geographically very spread out. So We have little lunches. We have 3 a month. We have one in our Destin location to kind of draw people from that area. We have one in our Panama City Beach area, and then we have one in our Perdido Key. So our luncheons are smaller. You know, we might have 30 to 50 attendees at each one, and we usually do it in a restaurant, like one of them's in Carrabba's, and you know, we just, that way people don't have to drive quite as far. Now, I mean, you know, and they have 3 options. You know, we have the second week of the month, third week of the month, and the fourth week of the month. And then they can choose, especially for business partners that cover a large territory, they can choose if they want to be a part of one luncheon or hit a couple of different spots. But I wouldn't be afraid with, you know, just maybe, you know, starting small and having something where you may only have 20 people there, but it's 20 people that wouldn't be together, and giving them that opportunity can be a good start.
Thank you.
All right, anything else on that topic? All right, I know a couple other people had come off mute too to throw something out. So whoever jumps at it first, you get the next question.
If
Oh, go ahead,
maybe
Jim.
one thing that might be helpful, at least just for me, is for the people that are on here, maybe saying like what industry you're representing. Like I'm property management. Am I by
Yeah.
myself?
Nope.
I'm a community manager.
Community manager. Yeah.
community.
Okay.
Property management.
Same
Okay.
here.
So about half, at least half.
I'm a
I'll.
home,
What's that?
I'm a homeowner member.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
I'm a
one of the
business
things,
partner.
one of the things that and it'd be good to get maybe multiple perspectives on this. One of the things that our chapter has struggled with, actually, like completely unrelated to the pandemic, is that we just don't have a high number of attendees at the events in relation to the number of people that we know are in the industry. You know, and so it's not even that we have chapter members that are choosing not to attend the events, is there's a lot of people that just don't see a lot of value in joining the chapter. And I think that there's a couple of big drivers for that. Number one, you know, our market is sort of dominated by like 2 or 3 of the largest management companies, and they've developed their own like continuing education programs to, you know, be able to help, you know, get their managers the CMA, you know, CAI designations and things like that without having to go through chapter, you know, sponsored things. And so you end up having a lot of management company people that don't attend, which then I think has a domino effect, because then business partners don't feel as you know, as excited about attending, because a lot of it for them is just networking and business development. And, you know, if they're going there and they're seeing the same, you know, 4 or 5, you know, individuals from management companies, those relationships are really strong. But without, you know, new blood in the water, so to speak, you know, they're not going to be incentivized to pay the annual sponsorship and come to the event. So we're kind of struggling with that a little bit, with just, you know, realizing that, you know, there's not a lot of management companies that have a majority of the individuals, the community association managers that we need to attend these events. They're almost like, you know, purposefully having them avoid, you know, going to these meetings and events and things like that. I don't know if anybody else's chapter has had, you know, similar experience, and you've figured out ways to, you know, battle that, or.
And we hit that, I think, before it became a problem. We knew that it was trending that way. And what we wanted to do was to avoid it. So we simply engaged all the big management companies. We've had one-on-one engagement with them. We've asked, how can CAI bring you value? What value add do you like about CAI? What don't you like about CAI? And how can we adjust our programming accordingly? Some feedback received during those sessions was that their like standard programming through CAI National is vague. It's not specific to Minnesota. it can be outdated at times, like the 200 courses, for example, specifically the communications course that was provided to us. They're talking about like doing stuff in like files and stuff like file. And I understand that CAI has to appeal to a very large demographic. And that's why they have the programming that way, because they do still have management companies who are operating on paper. We have a competitor here in town who still operates on paper. And so CAI has to appeal to all of that. So what we've tried to do is provide value based upon the feedback, which is just doing more individual courses that are more modern, I would say. But it's really about engagement. If you can get, and then promoting the value of the designations from CAI is the biggest piece. Because if you can make it clear to those management companies that having so many PCAMs, having so many AMS designations is what makes you competitive in the market, you're going to have people that are continue to drive their managers. I think most of our companies in Minnesota, First Service included, and I don't know about our other chapters, but we require all of our managers to have their CMCA as a company. It's a requirement within 90 days of starting, because in our marketplace, the RFPs say that. The RFPs from our clients, for some reason here, they all say, how many designations do your managers have, or are they all designated? And so to stay competitive, we have to do that. And so every single one of our managers is a member of CAI.
Wow, that's amazing, Sean, the 90-day period.
Yep.
I like that. We give our managers 1 year from date of hire, but I like the 90. I wish they would just get it done sooner, because I tell them this is the least busy you will be in your career. Do it
They
now.
don't have a lot to do the first 30 days because they're doing educational stuff. They're acclimating to the new company. And so that's a good time for them to go through the whole program.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for the feedback. That's helpful, Sean.
Along those lines, when I was chapter executive director before I started with CAA headquarters, actually at the North Gulf Coast chapter, Haley's chapter. And one of the things we did is, like you said, we made appointments. Myself, the president, and someone with the membership committee made appointments with all of the management company CEOs. We went in, same thing, talk to them. What can we do to bring you value? And then at the end of that session, we set up a time and said, can we come and speak to your managers? And so we would leave there with another appointment to come and do a session with all of their managers. So that really worked for us as well, to engage them.
Now, as a follow-up, Jim, to that, we have been having problems, and I don't know if anybody else has, with we have a lot of manager members. That's a fact. We can't get the managers right now to attend. We can get them to go to the big events, the trade shows, the mini trade shows and expos and so forth. What we can't get them to go to are the smaller events. So that's why we modified education a little bit. But even like little happy hours or other small social events, we have 55 business partners at all of them sponsoring it. And it's great because the money's coming in. But the business partners are starting to provide feedback that, oh, there were 3 managers.
Yeah, we call it a vendor fest is what we call it.
Yeah.
I know exactly what it is.
Pre-COVID, it was never like that. There would be, at any event, there'd be 50 plus managers because they were just looking to get out of the office for the day. But now that managers are mostly working from home, they're like, I'm not leaving the comfort of my home to go to a 2-hour event.
So our business partner committee actually used to arrange mixers, and we called them business partner mixers, and that's exactly what they ended up being, with business partners mixing with other business partners. And so we changed it to chapter mixers, and it actually wasn't until we actually have a brand new executive director this year, and our first mixer of the year, he made it a manager appreciation event at a winery. And we put it out there that homeowners or even business partners could sponsor their favorite manager to attend. And all of a sudden we have 35 managers attending, when literally we're the same as you. It's like 5, if we're lucky, would attend one of these. And so I'm really impressed with the turnout. We are seeing more managers showing up to in-person events. We're still having a difficult time going back to Kanani's point is homeowners are still, I think, more reluctant to come to in-person events than managers are. But we've seen great response with this manager appreciation event as a mixer. And I think we're going to sell out at like 75 to 100 people at it. And normally we're at 40. So I'm really excited about it.
That's fantastic. Thanks for
Yeah.
that.
We have the same problem with our events as well, just being heavy on the business partners and less cams. So how does the sponsorship work? That sounds really interesting, Andrea. How do you do that?
Well, and this is all kudos to my new executive director, but honestly, the business partner, they wanted to do a winery, the committee wanted to do a winery event. It was a carryover from last year that couldn't happen. And he just put it out, it's in February, so it's the month of love, you know, so we're doing, okay, we love our managers. And we literally are advertising late. We didn't start advertising until last year. And you can register, and we've actually had board members register their managers. They're not attending, unfortunately, but they're sending their managers to go to the event. And so as a business partner, I'm actually going to be sponsoring 2 managers to bring as well, just because of all the good relationships and that sort of thing. So it's something that I'm super, super excited about as a business partner, and to get some love. I was thinking actually for June as well, for the International Community Association Manager Day would be another great event to do that. Again, we happen to have a manager made for managers trade show that happens in May and June as well, so it might coincide with that. But looking forward to June, that might be a great opportunity to do another love our managers kind of thing. So yeah, but they just put it on the form, say name who you want to invite, and then that manager, of course you have to make sure that they can attend, but yeah, it worked. It's been working out really well.
I think that's one of the reasons why our Top Golf event has been so highly attended. I mean, one, it's kind of a fun thing, and you go and eat and drink and all that. But two is the way that we've structured it is sort of similar to that. Like the golf bays, if you're familiar with Top Golf, it's kind of like a bowling alley type of setup where you have, you know, a handful of people that you register for the bay. And so the way that it works is, as a business partner, you buy, you know, you sponsor that, and it gets you a bay, but you're only allowed, I think you can put 6 people in a bay, and you're only allowed to have up to 3 people from your particular company. And then you can't share a bay. So it's not like, you know, an insurance company and then a landscaping company can share a bay. So you're only allowed to have 3, which means it basically forces them to invite 3 association managers to join them in the bay. And so you end up getting a lot of business partners that want to, you know, make the reservation for it, but then they're almost like scrambling to try to see, okay, who can get in touch with, you know, the manager first to invite them. And so that's, I mean, honestly, it's like the one time per year that I go to that thing and I see, you know, 90% of the association managers in our market is at Top Golf. And then I won't see them for 12 months because they don't come to any of the luncheons. And I almost thought, like, do we make the luncheons the same thing? Right now, we're having everybody individually pay for the luncheon to go. You know, do we maybe change it and have it be something similar where the vendors have to invite the association managers, you know, to come and get a free lunch, and see if that might increase attendance, but not sure.
Our Top Golf never happened. We're still waiting.
Well,
Hopefully this year.
Yeah, we just got an outdoor Top Golf. We had a virtual Top Golf where they have all the inside stuff, and we just got an exterior one. So I'm hoping to actually get an event prior to our golf tournament so that people can actually practice and maybe even take some, you know, practice swings before, so they're comfortable with the golf tournament. So I'm hoping to see that.
Yeah.
Ours just opened in December as well. So I'm very excited.
In Hawaii, you get to play real golf 12 months a year. So
You know, after I said that we didn't have our Top Golf yet, I'm thinking we have all these beautiful golf. Tune into the Sony Open this week. I actually manage a property right next to it. So.
Oh, very cool.
Anything else on this topic? Okay, what else? What's the next thing you guys want to throw out there?
I might as well just throw out, can we just talk really quick about recertification, since that's coming up really quickly? Because we have a new CED, I just want to make sure that, can you just remind us, I know you sent it out in previous things, but all the requirements and I know that probably this group needs to be the one to sign off on the prior year, or maybe it's the prior year's president that signs off on that year.
So yes, so it's actually it will be the president and president-elect from last year will
From
sign
last year,
off on
okay.
it. Yeah, I'm going to drop the requirements in the chat. Your chapter executive director should have access to open water, which is where we submit the recertification. It's all submitted electronically. It's due January 31st. So Andrea, I will touch base with Kyle, make sure, see if he needs any help or anything like that. Others of you, if you have your chapter executive directors who have questions or anything, they can reach out to me and I'll be glad to walk them through the process. We also have a video that we've done before too, that, you know, kind of walks them through it. But if you've had a chapter executive director there for a while, chances are they know all about it and they're on top of it. So, but I will drop the requirements in the chat. It's due again, January 31st.
Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome. Any questions about recertification? Any other questions? Great. While I have the floor, Kelly, I'm just going to also drop in the chat the information about the Chapter Executive Director of the Year and the Rising Star Awards. I did send in the weekly email that information, but just in case you didn't receive it, I'm going to drop it in the chat and I'm going to send a standalone email today to all the presidents as well. So be sure that you look for that. Those are also due January 31st. So be sure you check that out.
Okay.
Any questions on that? Okay.
For new presidents, just to kind of go further of what Emily said, weekly we do send an email. It is through the exchange system that we send it out, and it just kind of gives some highlights of things that are going on or things that are coming up. So make sure that you're getting those. They usually come out on Friday. I do recommend that you change your exchange for this president-elect group to be in real time. There's not a ton that goes through there. If you do have it on just the daily digest, you will usually get it the following day. But I just wanted to throw that out there to look at your settings if you're comfortable with doing it in real time. I do recommend that. But every week you will be getting that email through the exchange program. If you don't receive that or you haven't received it, please let Emily or myself know and we'll go in and we'll check the settings for that. The first couple times it might go through into your junk box. So just make sure you check that and mark that address as a safe sender so that it goes into your email box.
And I'm having a hard time copying and pasting this in the chat. I'm not sure why it's doing it, but I will send the email today. So you will have all of the information for the Rising Star and the Chapter Executive Director of the Year. And then the other reminder we want to make for you too is if you have elected your president-elect for this year, we'd like to know about that so we can go ahead and start communicating with them. So I'm going to try once again to drop the link in the chat, but we have a Google Doc that you can add that information on if you have it. So what Kelly or I will drop it in the chat.
Thanks, Emily. A couple other reminders too. We are planning to continue to do a lot of the things that we've done this past year. That includes what we call our chapter knowledge series. So usually once a month, we are putting on a virtual program related to a different topic. A lot of the times it's just more staff related. So for example, we are doing a session with our marketing team coming up here in a couple of weeks about social media and some changes that have happened in that realm. So again, more of those are operational pieces. We do record those though. So again, for example, some chapters have a social media committee. They're welcome to share that recording then with the social media committee after the fact. But we do have some that we definitely invite the chapter leaders to. We also do sessions based on committees. So we've done one in the past with both the education committee chairs and the membership committee chairs that we're planning to do again in 2023. So some of that will be coming out, and a lot of those we don't have contact information for those chairs. And so we'll send them through both to your chapter staff and then also to you to help us invite and make sure the right people are a part of those sessions that we're hosting. But so you'll get emails about that. But if at any time you feel like, hey, I really wish we could have a training on a certain topic, or we're missing something, or I'm struggling here, and maybe others are too, please let us know, because knowing that we've got this virtual environment, sometimes it's easy for us to put together a virtual program and to record it. So even if you can't make the live session, we do have that access for you after the fact. The other thing that we're continuing this year that's been very successful is our Community Conversations live webinars. So what that is it's run through us nationally, and we do a hot topic that's happening in the industry. So usually the topic isn't decided until about 30 days prior. We do have the dates of those already scheduled, but we ask the chapters to participate by providing a facilitator. And what we do is we break up the attendees by region or location. And so it gives the ability for the chapters to have, that touch base in another way to potential members in your area, to showcase. Some chapters will sponsor a breakout, get a sponsor for the breakout room, and that sponsors the moderator. You have access to show a little video if you want within that breakout room. But it's been very successful, and we do get a lot of homeowner leaders. It's more topics kind of geared towards that, and that was the purpose of this, is to give them some a different route for education. So it is free for CAI members to participate in those. So if your chapter is interested in participating, again, we usually send out a notification just before and ask for what chapters want to participate and have a breakout room and have a facilitator for that. So if you have more questions about that program, feel free to reach out to me directly and we can talk more about that. But I do encourage you, if you see a topic and you think that you've got somebody within your chapter or your leadership that would be a good facilitator for that, please encourage them to join, or again, be a part of that program.
So do you have the topic for the February one set
Um,
yet?
So Dawn, who's at our law seminar right now, is usually the one who decides on the topic. And so we will be having that next week, most likely, that we'll be reaching out with that topic.
Got it. And then just out of curiosity, how many people usually attend that?
Yeah, so we usually range about, I would say, anywhere, again, depending on the topic. We've had about 150 to 400 online. Usually we get around 500 to 600 registered for the event, because if you register, you get the copy of the recording automatically. And then we usually have about a 50% attendance rate based on the registration.
Got it. And so that's something that we can push it out through the chapter to get local people interested in everything else too.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Awesome.
And even if you don't have a facilitator, we do have all of the graphics to use for promotion to send out. So again, even if you don't have a facilitator, again, it's a great additional touch base. And then with the breakout room, since we are dividing it into region, they get more of, the specific conversations then to be had there. All right. Okay. Another check base. Anybody else want to throw a question out before I continue?
I've actually got one. Since
Yeah.
we have so many association managers on this call, we are working to develop a mentorship program to support managers. I'm sure that across the country, it's first getting people into the industry, finding out about the industry. Then once they're in, making sure that they're getting best practices and supporting them in terms of how to deal with people and their complaints and all that, and then certification and continuing education. And there's been a lot of different talk in our chapter, at least, about just one-on-one mentoring versus, I think with Illinois has a mentorship program that leads towards certification and designation. So it's led by their PCAMs. And we're kind of absorbing everything and going to be doing a listening session with our current managers to see what they're looking for, but I'm just curious what you guys have that actually works, because I'm afraid if we just do a one-on-one mentor-mentee thing, it could just die away because it depends on those individuals and how well they're responding to each other. And so I'm just curious if you guys have something that works.
We're trying to have something that works with a mix. What we do is we have all of our senior managers. They know that in order to get promoted or to move up, they have to provide some sort of mentoring to the newer generation of managers coming in. So we have a mixture of our senior managers mentoring the new ones that come in, new just in industry. They have a lot of management experience elsewhere and all these transferable skills, but learning community associations is a whole nother animal. And what we learned about having the mix of different people that they not just shadow, but they get to chat with and follow for a specific period is they see a different way of managing, because they know everyone has the same goal, but everyone also has a different path they take. And we want to give them all these different options and ways to get the job done. And then they pick which one works best for them. Instead of just shadowing Kanani or Kanani's my mentor, someone else may have a better way. And
Is
so
that
that's
within your company or is that within the chapter?
Within our company.
Right. So I think part of the issue we've been having is that different companies don't want to share their leaders with other managers from other companies, and that whole, so like this is something we're trying to develop as a chapter potentially without that antitrust, issues and all that. And that's where a big hiccup is happening, I think.
What we try to do with our speakers, when we have a property manager speaker, we've been really lucky. Their topics or when they speak, it's never just about their company. So I don't talk about my company when I'm a speaker for a CAI event. I talk to the managers like we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
Under a different hat company, but we're all dealing with the same issues. And a lot of them approach me afterward and say, wow, you were right. And we're not enemies, we're not competitors, we are actually all in the same boat. And in Hawaii, our pool of managers is so small. We have managers at our company that have worked at all three of the big ones. We have managers that have been back with us the third time, right? And so it's just for us, finding that speaker that can speak to everyone without giving away trade secrets.
Yeah.
Right. We know what those lines are that we can't cross, but just generally speaking. And I think that starts with the business partners, like the attorneys, the parliamentarians, making sure that they're preaching the same thing so that we can find some consistency within all the property management companies and how we get the job done.
Andrea, is your issue with recruitment efforts into the industry, or is it with mentoring once you get the people into the industry?
So initially it was going to be the mentoring portion. We are actually talking to some community colleges to kind of do some job fair stuff and actually having a booth there and that sort of thing, just to and maybe even apprenticeships or internships so they can actually learn about the industry. I don't think that's so much the issue. It's the burnout and the support for managers and everything that you guys go through. So yeah.
Okay. I would say I'd like to comment on this, which is I think CAI, this is for Kelly and Emily. Our industry is not noticeable. People fall into it randomly. I fell into it. I don't know who else on this call literally just fell into it. And once you're in it, though, it kind of is in your blood and you actually enjoy it if you have the right personality type for it. What we have found, just for everyone on the call, there's nobody on Minnesota here, right? Nope. Okay. So I will share this. We have found retail managers are the absolute 100% best people in the world for this job because it's actually a step up from them as far as workload. It's easier on them, which is unheard of for me because I thought this was a very challenging job and it's evenings and it seems like you're always on. Well, retail managers are always on, even more so than us, including they work holidays. So we actually found a feeder pool from Barnes and Noble We have 7 managers from Barnes and Noble, and they are the best managers that I have ever had ever. And once one came in and they really appreciated our culture, they all kind of followed. But the mindset is the same, customer focused. It's just it is a feeder pool that we found to be extremely successful. So
Yeah. And I
that's
think,
about recruiting.
Yeah, no,
Burnout's a
and-
whole other story, which each company kind of has to deal with that.
yeah, but I think you're right, because the community college level, you're getting people that maybe probably haven't worked that much or don't have much of a work history, and you
Mhm.
really kind of have to have that knowledge and experience of how to do customer service. And I'm not a manager, but I see, I'm a contractor, so I see what you guys do on the outside looking in. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Our company had an internship program pre-pandemic, and it was successful. We brought on 3 of the top students in their business class from 2 very prestigious business schools. But the issue was they were smart, they were brilliant, they just didn't have thick skin. It really came down to that. And so we kind of scrapped that for now, but it just came down to not being able to handle the yelling over the phone, not being able to separate themselves from that. They just internalized. It was just the thick skin aspect of it. This is not for the faint of heart.
Which comes with time, I think. A lot of times, that comes with time. So I did want to talk, Sean, that's really interesting. The retail manager, we will definitely share that back. I know that a lot of our chapters, the ones who are working with colleges, are trying to get into the hospitality programs, is where, whenever they are working with the colleges, is where they're focusing their efforts on. I also wanted to talk about the mentorship thing. I don't know if this would help you, Andrea, being as there's only one chapter in this state, but the Florida chapters are talking about maybe having a statewide mentorship program, so that, someone in South Florida can mentor someone in North Florida. We do have management companies that are all across the state, but for those, and a lot of times they have their own mentorship program. So I don't know that our focus is really there anyways. It's the smaller management companies that I think would benefit from this. And so that kind of, because we thought about, well, they're not going to want to mentor their competitors or anything like that. So if we kind of broaden the reach, we thought that might help with that. So we're kind of looking at that.
What about a national one where it could be virtual mentorship, where then you really don't have the competitiveness, and offering, you're not going to have the same laws and that sort of thing for regions, but what about a virtual mentorship that could be national, that, similar to the exchange, but it could be a one-on-one via Zoom, and maybe the requirement is they're not in the same region, or something like that. Is that, I mean, I know you guys have a lot on your plates nationally, but
we can definitely mention it. Absolutely. We can definitely mention it. Is there anyone on, there's no one on here on the managers council, is there?
We have a member from Washington State that's on the advisory council, Melissa Guyot.
Yeah.
She's at the law center.
Oh yeah, Melissa, put the bug in her ear too.
Okay.
We will on our end, but put it, asking the volunteer to push that forward makes a difference too. So
thank you. Yeah.
Are any of the rest of you finding it hard to get managers right now?
I know our chapter is.
We're a huge, we're I guess a large chapter, and we've got a lot of management companies here, but everybody I talk to, they're always looking for managers, and managers are jumping from one place to the other every time an offer's made. But there's still a lot of management companies out there that are needing managers really bad, and they try to. And I think the owners are kind of telling them, they try to keep their managers from talking to other companies because they're afraid they're going to steal them. That's the way the market is here for some reason.
You
But
can't steal a manager though if the manager's happy. So, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to is we don't have that problem here, but our culture is probably one of the best, in my opinion, in Minnesota. But we've built that over time. Our pay is probably a little bit better too. I think it's just by management company. This industry grew up with it's pretty easy to start a management company as opposed to other businesses. So the industry grew up with a very competitive nature with a lot of mom and pop shops. You know, for Minnesota, we have 78 management companies in the metro. Now, there's only probably 5 larger ones, but we have 78 management companies. So it's just so competitive in nature that the management fees are so low that it becomes more difficult to recruit, or managers have to have 15 or so accounts. And that's where it becomes challenging. It's unfortunate, but all I can say is that if the manager's happy, they're not going to leave. But recruiting, like I said, retail's a good one because retail's closing down. You're not going to find experienced managers. We gave that up 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. You are not going to find managers that are experienced typically. And if they're bouncing around from company to company, they usually bring bad habits with them. So we actually don't recruit managers who do that. So we just build them. That's the only way to do it right now.
The only last thing that I wanted to mention is that next week you will be receiving an email, most likely from Crystal, who is one of our senior vice presidents. And if you've been on a call, you've seen her. Again, she's at the law seminar right now, so she wasn't able to join us today. But it's going to be a recap of 2023. And so it's just highlighting a lot of things that happened within 2023. So please take a look at that. Again, a lot of it's also geared towards chapters. And I just wanted to call out a couple stats that I was impressed by. So with our chapters held over 1,000 educational events in 2022. Those are both in person and virtual, but strictly education events. Over 1,000 of them were held. So great job with educating the industry, educating our members. Again, without our chapters, we wouldn't be successful as an organization. So thank you for that. In 2022, we saw growth of 3.4% from 2021. And again, coming out of the pandemic, we know that we lost some members based on situations, but we are seeing that come back. And I think that's great. Not a lot of organizations have seen that growth in this amount of time. So again, thank you for all that you're doing with the boots on the ground. And we ended the year with we were super close to 44,000 members. So the final number was 43,839 members. So again, thank you for all of the work. We're almost at an all-time high for membership, which again is great coming out of the pandemic into this situation. But again, we wouldn't be where we are without you and our chapter leaders. So thank you. Thank you for all the great work that you're doing. Again, if at any time you need assistance, you have questions, again, our chapter relations team is here for all of you as a resource. As a reminder, you can request people from our board of trustees, our different councils of volunteers, and then also our leadership team from the headquarters staff to come out and talk to you for whether it's an educational event, a keynote speaker. Some of the people, they book up very fast. So if you're looking for a speaker on a certain topic or a certain time, please reach out sooner than later for that. And then also our team is available to do trainings as well, whether it's committee training, board training, strategic planning sessions. And anytime that we come to the chapter, we're covering the cost of our travel. There's no, fees to the chapter. So I just wanted to remind you that those options are available to you as well while you're having discussions or, as your committees are looking for things. All right, and I know we've gone a little bit over time, but thank you all for joining us today. It was a great discussion. Hopefully we'll see you guys all next month as well. But again, thank you and keep the conversations going through Exchange if you have anything that comes up.
Thank you, everyone.
thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Bye.